everyone, and welcome back. So, last time we talked about quotation marks in dialogue and in essays, and this time we're going to go into a little bit more about MLA formatting, and we'll look at some examples of the differences between dialogue in a book. I'm actually going to show you a clip from my first book that was written a few years ago, and then I'm going to show you a selection from a paper that I wrote quite a while ago, but I think it gives a good example of how to use quotation marks correctly and how to cite things correctly. So let's get started. All right, so review. When you are quoting in an essay, you need to give attribution. This means that you show your reader who is writing or saying the words that you are quoting. So here is an example. Okay, again, I found an article from today, and this is about the coronavirus outbreak. If you're watching this 5 years from now, you're like, what the hell? But this is from the coronavirus outbreak in the Marlins, and they're talking to MLB, so Major League Baseball. It is written by, where is it? There we go, Ryan Gatos. Okay, so I don't want to just drop this quotation in, because then the person reading my essay would have zero idea what I was talking about. What is up with this font? There we go. Sorry, guys. So I can't just drop it in. I need to give attribution. Attribution means showing who said it or wrote it. And this is from Fox. So Fox News. This is going to drive me crazy. There we go. And I think we're at 16. Sorry, everybody. All right, so Fox News reporter Ryan Gatos states, and then a comma. Okay, so that is how I do attribution. I have who he is, yellow, his name, I'll put that in yellow too. I have the verb there, how he's writing this, and then I have a comma, and then my quotation, and then I finish the quotation here. Okay, that is how attribution is done. You may also need to give the context. So why are we incorporating this quotation? So let me give an example using the same thing I just used above. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to add a sentence for context. Why are we talking about this? It has been difficult to control outbreaks of the coronavirus as people try to balance personal freedom with public safety. So that's kind of my topic sentence. For example, Marlins players may have had a party which put their entire team in danger. And then I have my quote. Okay, so all of this is context. Put it in green. Now, I understand why the person would be including this quotation. It's difficult to control outbreaks of the coronavirus. People are trying to balance personal freedom with public safety. For example, Marlins players may have had a party which put their entire team in danger. Fox News reporter Ryan Gatos. I probably would have to have more information there, like in his article about the incident. I'll add that. Fox News reporter Ryan Gatos states, the difficult circumstances of one club reinforce the vital need to be diligent with protocols in all ways, both on and off the field. Okay, that makes sense. Sort of. It's not the best quotation, but hopefully you can kind of see how that works. Context, why I'm putting it there, attribution, who's saying it and why, and then the comma, and then the quote. We don't want to have a dropped quotations. We looked at these before. Let's go to the movies. This is from an article we looked at last time about Barbie having a diverse team with African-American dolls being represented for campaign positions. But you would know that because there's no attribution at all. So if you hadn't seen video 1 and you just, for whatever reason, happen to jump out of video 2, you're like, wait, who said that? Where is it from? What's she talking about? That's why we need attribution. Quotation marks are always used in pairs, right? So one at the beginning and one at the end to mark off or note where people's words start and where they end. And you need a speech tag to show who is talking and how they are talking. So we said before, Karen Smith said is a little bit different than Karen Smith argues, right? Or Karen Smith describes, or contends, or explains, or proves, or demonstrates. Then you have a comma, and then you have the quotes. If there's no citation, the punctuation at the end of the sentence goes inside the quotation marks, like so. If there is a citation, the period goes after the citation, but it's important to note a lot of times what I get, and I'll cross it off after I do this. Here, I'll copy this thing from Mark, and I'll get things that have this whole thing inside like that, which is not correct. Sometimes I get weird, like, I'll get that up there. That's not correct either. So, goes at the end after the quote, but still part of the sentence. So the period goes here, not in here. Okay, so that is a review of what we learned last time. So the first thing that I want to talk about this time are other places where we use quotation marks. In MLA formatting, we have two styles of writing out titles. The first there we go. The first is italics. And italics are used for major works. Major means things that are long. So longer works. And I say works because it can be a number of different things. So here are some examples. There we go. Book titles. Jane Eyre. Or Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. I didn't think that out before I picked that. It's quite long. Another major work would be a play or a movie title. Harry Potter. No, I'm just joking. Let me think of another. Star Wars. Or a play. My Fair Lady. Play. Okay. Italics. So italics are those slanty letters. We used to in the past underline things, and I think I'm not sure, my paper that I show you might have some underlining. But at any rate, now we italicize. So other major works might be a music album, a collection of essays, the whole collection, a website. Okay, so let me do this. WebMD. Another one, a newspaper, online or in print. A magazine, again, online or in print. I'm not sure. So, for example, the New York Times, right? Or a magazine, if any of them are still in print. Is Vogue still in print? Maybe. Okay, Vogue. There we go. So those are all in italics. So what does this have to do with quotation marks? Well, for quotation marks, we use for minor works. In other words, typically shorter things. So I just copied my list of stuff and now I'm going to change it. So instead of a book title, let's say we have a book chapter. And that would be, this is not a chapter in Jane Eyre, but let's say it is, The Red Room. Or let's say it's chapter 2, The Red Room. Okay. Instead of a play or a movie, we would have a YouTube video, shorter, right? I do some farming stuff, so one I watched the other day was My Little Homestead Chickens, something like that. That's something that I would watch. I'm showing you guys kind of how dorky I am right now. Instead of an album, it would be an entire song. Or, I mean, just a song instead of an entire album. So, this is not a song title, but you get the idea. Instead of a collection of essays, it would just be one essay. An analysis of the history of the comma. What a boring essay. But it would be there. Instead of a website, it would be a, oh, they're right, an essay, sorry. A page on a website. So on WebMD, we have, let's go up, I opened it up someplace. There we go, Anxiety and Panic. WebMD is the whole website. Anxiety and Panic is an article on that website, or a page on the website. Oops, it's still italicized. There we go. Anxiety and Panic. Instead of a newspaper, it would be a newspaper article. So let's say the New York Times published something today about COVID-19 today. Same thing here, magazine, article, or again, a page on a website, right? Fashion trends of 2022. So in case you're watching this later. And another one that would be there would be a poem. Okay, so that's basically what it looks like. You will notice a couple other things, that these all have the major words capitalized. So we don't capitalize little words like to, of, or the, or and, right? But every time else we do capitalize. So when we're going to talk about later, and you'll watch a different video on MLA formatting, but when you have a citation, that's why it would look kind of like this. Okay, this is something I'm teaching for a different class. Alcott, Louisa May, it's the author, right? My Contraband. That's a short story that she wrote. It appears in the book Stories of the Civil War. Let's just say that's what it's called. And let's say that was edited by Jim Editor. That's his name. That's why he became an editor. And it was published in, let's say, 2020. Okay, I may be missing some kind of information there, so please don't take this as being exactly perfect, but you can at least see that's how the story would be in quotes, and then this being the major work, that's the book that it's from, right, would be in italics. And the same thing goes if you are writing about a piece of literature. So if you have an article, if you are referring to a YouTube video, or a TikTok video, which are even shorter typically, if you're referring to a page of a website, that is how this would look. So let's take a look at something that I wrote many years ago. Okay, this is from a paper that I did in school about Chaucer. If you've heard of the Canterbury Tales, that's what this paper was about. Now you'll notice that the Canterbury Tales are not anywhere in what I wrote here, because I was using other sources before I talked about that book itself. So, in the book, Hospitality in Modern England, I'm going to put that in green. Felicity Hill writes that the English concept, blah, 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 tradition, and then we have some Latin words there. And then we have our citation, which I'm going to do pink. Kevin Gorman details the practice in his article, Modern Hospitality Lessons from the Past. I'm going to put that in blue. He explains, then I go into that, and then I have here the citation. Okay, so what can we see in this somewhat boring paper that I wrote? Okay, a few things. First, this is a book, so it's in italics. This is an article, so it's in quotation marks. All of the major words, modern, hospitality, lessons, and past, are capitalized. From and the are not. Same thing here. Hospitality, early, modern, and England are all in caps. In is not. And I have the citations. The reason I chose this paragraph is because what's interesting is I don't have any quotes from either of these authors, but you will notice that I still have the citations. So what do I have instead? Well, I have writes that, and then I have this, and I'm going to put this paraphrase in yellow. Okay. Then I introduce this guy, and then I have he explains that, and then I have this paraphrase also in yellow. So in both of these cases, I decided that I was going to really, I actually want to say this isn't even a paraphrase. This is a summary of his whole article, or essay, whatever you want to call it. I called it an article. There we go. Article. So it's a summary of his whole article. So I don't have a quotation there because I'm not quoting him directly. So I want to finish this concept that when we have articles, essays, poems, songs, they all go in quotation marks. When we have longer major works, like a website, not just a page, but the whole thing, a book, a play, a movie, all of those are going to go in italics. So just know that difference. Okay, so what's my second point here? All right, when you are writing, especially when you're writing a paper, you do not use quotation marks when you are summarizing or paraphrasing. So, if you are not quoting the work directly and using the author's underline exact words, then you must underline, leave the quotation marks off. But you still need a citation. Now, why is that? Because the words and ideas are, I won't say the words. The ideas are not yours. So if we go back up here to my paragraph about hospitality, the Roman tradition of ius hospiti is not a concept that I knew on my own. I kind of had the idea that the Romans had some ideas of hospitality, meaning when people needed a place to stay, they were sort of required, if your family, to have you stay there, right? Or they had certain things that they would do, like how we have. If you're having guests over for dinner, you clean your house, right? Things of that nature. But the exact phrase, ius hospiti, I did not know. I didn't really know that our English concept came from the Romans. I certainly didn't know that this was called proxena and functioned as a political tool. I would not have known that on my own. There's no way. That was not in my knowledge prior to doing research for this particular paper. So, however, so it's not my ideas, but it is my own words because I'm kind of summarizing what they have to say. So I didn't use quotes, but I did have a citation. So let's look at a place where I did have a quotation, just to kind of reinforce what we learned before. Okay, thankfully I didn't have to look that far. It was right underneath in the next paragraph. So, in Rome, the practice became legally defined, the practice of hospitality. I've been talking about the sentence before. And therefore, forming a relationship between a guest and host was similar to forming a legal contract. O'Gorman explains. Now, I've already introduced his name up here, so I don't need his full name and I don't need the title of the article because I've already done that part of the attribution. Here, I really kind of just want a speech tag and then a tiny bit of context, which I'll put in green. O'Gorman explains the import, meaning the importance, of this relationship. There should be a comma there. Writing, quote, the character, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and then I have another citation here in pink to show where I found that information. And I'm going to take away the pretentious word import. When I was younger, I was pretentious, and I'm not now, so let's change that. To be honest, if I were really editing this, I would be like, he states, and then I'd have a comma. So I'd have the speech tag kind of here. Yeah, that's what I would like to do. This is why this paper is from years ago, but this is why I tell you guys over and over and over that writing as a process, you can see like, oh, I missed a comma back in, it was like 10, 15 years ago that I wrote this paper. I missed a comma. The wording sounds too formal. I should just say what I mean. I want to split up the idea. Since it's such a long quote, I don't want to have a super long introduction to it. So just he states and then a comma, and then I have my speech tag. I have my attribution, who it's from. I have my context, why I'm talking about it, and I have my citation. So let's review what we've learned. Now it's in a different font. I don't know why. I'm sorry, guys. Number 1, use quotation marks for minor works like plays, essays, poems, short YouTube or TikTok or whatever is in fashion when I'm writing this, videos, pages of websites, articles, etc. Use italics for major works. Books. Oh, I'm sorry. Plays should be down here. Apologies. Sorry, plays. Plays, movies, entire websites, collections of essays, which typically isn't a book, etc. 3, make sure to have proper attribution to show who is doing the speaking or writing. Include a speech tag. We talked about those last time before your quotation. Include a citation at the end. Sometimes you may need a sentence or two to connect the quote with your paper, and you will need context. Don't use quotes. Don't use quotation marks if you are summarizing or paraphrasing. Okay. But still have a citation because those ideas are not your own. All right, that kind of sums it up. A couple things we talked about before, but hopefully you can kind of see how this works when you're doing it from an article, like the ones we looked at, and how it looks in an actual paper. I'm kind of embarrassed to show you guys this work because it was so long ago before I fully knew what I was doing and before I was teaching. But look, that's how we learn, and editing is always important. And I actually am going to add that in. edit and revise your work. Make sure you're turning in the best stuff you can, and don't be afraid to go back and fix it later. That's it. I hope to see what you have to say, and I look forward to reading your papers. Thanks.